Kungfu, despite being inspired by his father, who was the city's most skilled martial artist, struggled with the limitations imposed by his asthma. His desire to follow in his father's footsteps, becoming a great fighter like him, often conflicted with his health. His father, aware of the physical toll kung fu training could take, kept him away from serious practice, not wanting him to push himself too far and worsen his condition. Nevertheless, Kungfu secretly practiced his father's moves, attempting to improve his skills without his father's knowledge. His father's certificates and victories were a constant source of motivation, pushing him to train harder, even if it meant defying his own health constraints. The situation escalates when a new fighter arrives in their city, someone who quickly gains a reputation for being incredibly skilled. This new fighter challenges Kungfu's father, calling him out in front of everyone, claiming to be the best in martial arts, even comparing himself to the legendary fighters from China. Kungfu's father, despite the risk, accepts the challenge, eager to prove his superiority and protect the honor of Kung Fu. The fight is set in the heart of the city, drawing a crowd. Initially, Kungfu's father dominates the fight, showcasing his decades of training. But soon, it becomes clear that the new fighter is using unfair tactics. He disregards the traditions of martial arts and fights with dirty, underhanded moves. Despite his father's experience and restraint, the opponent relentlessly attacks. At a crucial moment in the fight, when Kungfu's father is on the verge of victory, the new fighter attempts a fatal blow. However, Kungfu's father pulls back, respecting the sanctity of Kung Fu, and deliberately holds back his final punch. This act of mercy gives the opponent the opportunity to strike and ultimately defeat Kungfu's father in front of the watching crowd. Devastated, Kungfu witnesses his father's defeat. He believes that his father lost due to a lack of strength or ability. However, what Kungfu doesn't know is that his father intentionally lost the fight, hoping to teach the new fighter a lesson in humility and the true meaning of martial arts. He chose not to end the fight with a brutal, final blow, even though the new fighter's actions were dishonorable. After the fight, the new fighter continues to mock Kungfu's father, making jokes about the loss in front of the city's people. This humiliation drives Kungfu into a rage. He cannot bear to see his father's name dragged through the mud, especially after the effort his father had put into preserving the dignity of Kung Fu. Kungfu decides to take up the challenge, eager to avenge his father's loss. His friends warn him against it, knowing that Kungfu's asthma might prevent him from performing at his best. His health could hold him back, especially when facing someone so skilled and ruthless. Despite their concerns, Kungfu is determined to fight. This leads him into a journey of self-discovery in overcoming his physical limitations, learning that the true strength of a fighter lies not just in physical ability, but also in heart, determination, and honor. As Kungfu faces off against the arrogant fighter, he will have to navigate the fine line between anger and discipline, learning what it means to be a true martial artist, just like his father. The battle is not just physical, it's a test of character, a clash of philosophies, and a way for Kungfu to prove that his father's legacy is not defined by a single defeat, but by the values he instilled in his son. Kungfu's journey of self-discovery and transformation is marked by many struggles, but it is his relentless desire to prove himself that ultimately leads to his growth. After losing to the new fighter's son, Kungfu feels humiliated and vows never to back down again. The loss sparks a deep fire within him to train and become strong, but his health continues to be a concern. His father, mindful of his asthma, refuses to train him, warning him that pushing his body too hard could make him even more vulnerable. However, Kungfu's determination only grows stronger. He starts secretly practicing on his own, studying martial arts techniques and reading a kung fu book his friend had given him. The book contains deadly moves, some of which are so powerful that they could kill if performed correctly. Ignoring the risks, Kungfu trains tirelessly, practicing in secret and gradually improving his skills. Over time, he becomes stronger and more disciplined, and his hard work pays off when he finally challenges the son of the fighter who humiliated him earlier. This time, the fight is different. Kungfu defeats his opponent with ease, and his confidence soars. But when his father finds out that Kungfu went against his wishes to train, he punishes him, disappointed by his son's defiance. Despite the punishment, Kungfu's desire to become a fighter doesn't fade. He continues to train even harder, eventually reaching the level of skill his father had. In a few short years, Kungfu becomes the city's most powerful martial artist, just like his father. However, the happiness that comes with his success is short-lived. Kungfu's life takes a tragic turn when both his wife and father pass away, leaving him devastated. He is left to live with only his mother and his daughter, realizing that his pursuit of martial arts and his desire to prove himself had come at the cost of the most important relationships in his life. Despite his success as a martial artist, Kungfu never becomes like his father. He is more playful and cheerful, not the serious and stoic person his father was. Yet, his journey shows that even in the pursuit of greatness, the most important lesson is balance. Kungfu becomes famous in his own right, but the legacy he builds is not only about fighting and skill, it's about the relationships he cherishes and the realization that martial arts is about self-improvement and helping others, not just proving strength. In the end, Kungfu's story is one of growth, sacrifice, and understanding that being a true martial artist is about much more than just physical power. His journey reflects the balance between ambition, love, and responsibility, a theme that resonates with anyone trying to find their own way in life. The story of Hyovo's rise and struggles as a martial artist continues to unfold, emphasizing his internal conflict between ambition and discipline. After gaining popularity for his impressive fighting skills, Hyovo becomes overconfident, arrogant, and careless. He loses respect for the true values of martial arts and starts indulging in excesses, celebrating his victories with alcohol and ignoring the deeper lessons that his father once taught him. His attitude alienates him from his true followers, who are more interested in the perks of free meals and drinks than in martial arts itself. Hyovo's disregard for this growing emptiness leads to further isolation. Despite warnings from his friend, who advises Hyovo to reconsider his approach, Hyovo ignores the advice, continuing on his path of recklessness. His arrogance becomes his downfall as he refuses to acknowledge that true martial arts isn't just about winning fights or gaining fame, but about self-discipline, humility, and respect for others. The tension reaches a boiling point when one of his followers is beaten up by a rival fighter, Kinli, who respects Hyovo's father but disapproves of Hyovo's behavior. Kin, a highly skilled martial artist and the top fighter in the city, had always been a quiet competitor, not interested in fame or attention. However, after witnessing Hyovo's challenge, Kin reluctantly accepts. The fight between the two is one of the most intense Hyovo has ever faced. Hyovo, filled with pride and desperation, tries everything to win, but he lacks the experience that Kin has honed over the years. His moves, though deadly, are reckless and unrefined. Kin, on the other hand, remains calm, using his vast experience to counter Hyovo's attacks with precision and grace. The battle reaches its peak when Hyovo, in a final attempt to claim victory, delivers a powerful punch that could potentially end the fight. But it's clear that, despite his strength, Hyovo's lack of control and understanding of martial arts is his greatest weakness. Kin eventually overpowers him, leaving Hyovo with a bitter realization about his approach to martial arts. This loss becomes a turning point for Hyovo. He begins to understand that martial arts is not just about defeating opponents, but about respect, humility, and continuous self-improvement. His defeat, while painful, teaches him the lesson that true strength comes from discipline, understanding the art, and embracing its core values. The story takes a dark and intense turn as Hyovo's life spirals further into despair. After winning the fight against Kin, he discovers the tragic fate of his family. His wife and mother, who had been murdered by Kin's followers in revenge, are found lifeless. This loss breaks Hyovo, driving him into a state of anger and confusion. His desire for revenge against Kin's followers intensifies, but when he learns the truth about why they acted, he is left grappling with his own actions and the consequences of his pride. The realization that his wife had been harmed due to his own reckless behavior and arrogance shakes him to the core. The shock and guilt overwhelm him, and he decides to end his life in an attempt to escape his suffering. However, fate intervenes when some villagers find him on the brink of death and save him. A kind girl named Yuchi, who is physically impaired but compassionate, takes care of him and helps him recover from his depression. As Hyovo experiences the simple yet meaningful life of the villagers and witnesses their resilience, he begins to reflect on his past and the mistakes he made. He slowly realizes that true fulfillment comes not from fame or revenge, but from helping others and living with integrity. His compassion for the villagers grows, and he decides to abandon his old life of violence and ego to serve them. Hyovo starts working in the fields with the villagers, learning humility and the value of hard work. He helps Yuchi and others in the village, finding a sense of peace in their simple, caring lifestyle. However, his path of redemption is tested when a local leader decides to punish some children who were caught stealing. The villagers plead for mercy, but the leader is insistent on delivering harsh punishment. Hyovo, reflecting on his own past actions and the mistakes of the people he once followed, intervenes. Instead of letting the punishment fall on the children, Hyovo steps forward to take the blame and accepts the punishment himself, showing his transformation and newfound understanding of what it means to truly live with honor. This act of self-sacrifice and compassion marks a turning point in his journey. It symbolizes his rejection of the pride and violence that once defined him, and his embrace of empathy and responsibility. As Hyovo chooses to leave his former life behind, he learns that redemption is not just about undoing past mistakes, but about choosing to live a life that benefits others and brings inner peace. Through his struggles, Hyovo comes to understand that true strength lies in kindness, humility, and sacrifice. Hyovo's journey is one of deep introspection and growth, and the events continue to unfold in a way that challenges his beliefs and identity. After enduring the harsh punishment from the village chief, he gains his respect for his resilience and determination. The chief, recognizing Hyovo's strength and character, honors him as a worthy individual. In the years that follow, Hyovo's bond with the villagers strengthens. However, the memories of his past life in the city and the pain of losing his family continue to haunt him. Despite the peace he has found in the village, Hyovo feels a strong desire to return to his hometown, not only to heal the wounds of the past but also to share the lessons he has learned. Before leaving, Hyovo promises Yuchi, the kind girl who helped him recover, that he will return for her and marry only her. Yuchi expresses her faith in him, saying she will wait for his return. Hyuvo sets off for his city, but when he arrives, he is confronted by the harsh reality of the changes that have taken place. The British colonizers now control the city, and their rule has brought violence, oppression, and suffering to the local Chinese population. Hyuvo witnesses the brutality of the colonizers, their soldiers marching through the streets, children begging for food from foreign tourists, and local Chinese people being forced to convert to Christianity. The situation has grown dire, with his own family home looted and abandoned by the servants who fled in fear. The British had even planned to take over his house, but a U.S. businessman friend of Hyuvo's paid a heavy price to protect it. Upon returning home, Hyuvo is confronted with the reality that he never gave his family a proper farewell. He regrets not burying his wife and mother before leaving and is consumed by guilt and sorrow. He visits the grave of his father, who had taught him the true meaning of martial arts and life. Here, Hyuvo reflects on his father's decision to hold back during their final fight, realizing now that his father was teaching him compassion rather than the desire for victory. In a moment of deep emotional turmoil, Hyuvo visits Kin's former mistress, a woman who had once been part of his opponent's life. She allows him to enter and, as a mark of respect for Kin, Hyuvo bows his head in acknowledgement of the past. Here, Hyuvo encounters the young man he once fought as a child, now grown. Despite the lingering animosity between them, the devastating impact of British colonialism has brought a sense of unity among the people, erasing old enmities. The news of an upcoming fight between Hercules O'Brien, a famous American wrestler, and a notorious fighter in Hyuvo's city catches his attention. Hercules had recently defeated one of the fiercest competitors in the world, and his next challenge would be in Hyuvo's city. This marks a new chapter in Hyuvo's life, where he must confront not just his past but the forces that continue to oppress his people. As Hyuvo prepares for this new challenge, he is faced with the task of reconciling his past mistakes, his quest for redemption, and his desire to protect his people from the colonizers who have caused so much suffering. His journey becomes not just about personal redemption but a fight for justice and the freedom of his city. Tanaka's appearance as the fourth fighter is a major turning point in the story. Having befriended Hyuvo and respected his dedication to martial arts, Tanaka knows that this final fight is not only a personal challenge for Hyuvo but also a betrayal of the true spirit of combat. As the fight is set to begin, Tanaka voices his concerns, saying that the match is unfair, not only because Hyuvo is exhausted after fighting the first three skilled fighters but also because this has turned into a spectacle, a political statement rather than a battle of honor. Hyuvo, though exhausted and drained from his previous bouts, does not back down. Despite Tanaka's warning, he chooses to face him, knowing that to preserve his dignity and that of his people, he must continue. However, Hyuvo is aware that Tanaka's style is vastly different from the previous opponents. Tanaka's calm demeanor, combined with his disciplined Japanese martial arts training, presents a formidable challenge. As the battle rages on, Hyuvo manages to recover enough to find his rhythm. His previous experiences, fighting for his honor, his people, and his self, have all led to this moment. He channels his energy into a final series of moves that take Tanaka by surprise. The fight concludes not with one definitive victor but with a mutual respect between the two warriors. Tanaka, realizing the sincerity of Hyuvo's journey and the reason he fights, acknowledges Hyuvo as a worthy fighter. This moment of respect is the turning point for Hyuvo. The struggle has been more than just a series of physical fights, it has been a spiritual journey of self-discovery and transformation. In Tanaka, Hyuvo sees not just a rival but a fellow warrior with the same commitment to honor and discipline. The two agree that martial arts is about elevating oneself and others, not about defeating one's opponent for personal glory. The city, watching from the sidelines, begins to shift its perception. The story of Hyuvo, the Kungfu master, who fought for his people, for respect, and for the true meaning of martial arts, spreads across the land. It's no longer about fighting for fame or pride, it's about fighting for justice, unity, and the preservation of culture. In the aftermath of the fight, Hyuvo opens a school, teaching Kung Fu and philosophy, where he imparts not just fighting techniques but also the values of honor, humility, and the importance of helping others. His school becomes a place of learning, where people from all walks of life come together to learn not only how to fight but how to live better lives, in harmony with themselves and with others. As the story progresses, Hyuvo's legacy grows. He becomes a symbol of hope, not just for the Chinese community but for all those who believe in the power of discipline, respect, and cultural pride. His relationship with Tanaka continues to flourish, and together they work toward bringing peace and understanding between their two cultures, ensuring that the true spirit of martial arts, respect, honor, and self-improvement, remains at the heart of everything they do. The final moments of Hyuvo's journey unfold in a dramatic and emotional climax. As Hyuvo stands in the ring, struggling with the effects of the poison that the dictator had orchestrated, he is determined not to leave the fight. Despite the immense pain and weakness, Hyuvo's resolve to finish the fight remains unbroken. The dictator, who intended for Hyuvo to die in the ring, quickly starts the fight again, pushing the match into its final, intense moments. Hyuvo's fight with Tanaka becomes not just a battle of strength but one of spirit and respect. As the two warriors exchange blows, Hyuvo starts to lose his vision, and his strength rapidly deteriorates. The poison begins to take full effect, but Hyuvo refuses to back down. At the moment when Tanaka is about to deliver a powerful punch, Hyuvo's memory flashes back to a moment in his past, a time when his father had restrained his own rage and withheld a fatal strike. Hyuvo, realizing the cycle of violence and death that would continue if he carried through with the punch, stops himself, choosing mercy instead of victory. This act of restraint speaks volumes about Hyuvo's transformation throughout his journey, from a young, vengeful fighter to a man who understands the true purpose of martial arts, discipline, respect, and the preservation of life. Tanaka, seeing Hyuvo's selflessness, recognizes the true strength within him and submits to the fight's end. As Hyuvo's body succumbs to the poison and he collapses, the crowd falls silent, witnessing the end of a great warrior. The dictator's attempts to declare victory become meaningless as Tanaka, in a fit of anger and respect, rejects the authority and walks away, denouncing the shame of the regime that tried to manipulate the fight. Tanaka's actions reflect his own respect for Hyuvo's legacy and the fight for the people's dignity. In the final moments, as Hyuvo draws his last breath, his body is surrounded by those who revered him. The people who once followed him for his strength now gather to honor him for the principles he stood for, loyalty, honor, and the protection of his people's pride. Hyuvo's death becomes a powerful symbol of sacrifice, a martyrdom for the sake of preserving his people's honor. In an emotional and spiritual epilogue, Hyuvo's spirit is seen by Yunji, the woman he promised to return to. She performs martial arts under the full moon, embodying Hyuvo's spirit and fulfilling the promise he made. Her movements, inspired by Hyuvo's teachings in his life, reflect the passing of a warrior's wisdom to the next generation, a legacy that will live on beyond his death. Thus, Hyuvo's journey comes full circle, from a man driven by vengeance to one who dies for his people's honor, leaving behind a lasting impact on those who continue to fight for the values he believed in. This is where the movie ends. I hope you liked this story. Thank you for watching.